Syrian rebels stormed into the city of Hama this week as government forces withdrew. This is a significant step, bringing the rebels one step closer to the capital Damascus. The swift advance on Hama, one of Syria's largest cities, and the retreat of government forces was confirmed both by the rebels and by the government. The advance came just days after the rebels extended their control over Aleppo, which is a major hub in northern Syria. Now the rebels control three provinces: Aleppo, Idlib, and now Hama. In a video circulated by the rebel group leading the offensive, their leader, Abu Muhammad al-Jolani, jubilantly called for rebels to push towards other Syrian cities, including the capital, Damascus. But the big question on Crux Decode is this: can the rebels take Damascus? What about the other cities on the way from the north to the south of Syria? Will the 30-year-old regime of Bashar al-Assad finally fall? And what will his allies, Russia and Iran, do to prevent that from happening? The sudden rebel advance has shifted the front lines in the 13-year-old civil war in Syria for the very first time. It has added a new layer of unpredictability to this conflict. It has also opened deep fault lines in the country which have been exploited by jihadist groups. And the civil war has also drawn in world powers, including Russia, Iran, and the United States, all of whom are using Syria as a battleground to fight proxy battles. Hama is one of the few major Syrian cities where the rebels were yet to seize significant control. The war began with a popular uprising aimed at ousting al-Assad back in 2011. The name of the city, Hama, is synonymous with one of the most notorious massacres in the Middle East. Back in 1982, security forces serving under the current president's father and his predecessor Hafiz al-Assad massacred thousands of people in Hama during an anti-government uprising led by the Muslim Brotherhood. The rebels behind the current offensive are a combination of forces led by HTS, or Hayat Tahrir al-Sham. This is a group that evolved as an affiliate of Al-Qaeda. It was already notorious for suicide attacks on government troops. But the group now says it has cut off all ties with Al-Qaeda, but it is still classified as a terrorist entity by the United States. Other groups that are backed by Turkey and based on Syrian territory just south of the Turkish border have also joined the fight against Assad. The rebels' success so far has been attributed both to external factors, which is diminished support for Iran and for Hezbollah, and also diminished Russian support. There is also greater internal coordination amongst the opposition forces in Idlib and in Aleppo. And as the rebels now advance into Hama province, the power dynamics are also changing dramatically in their favor. The collapse of government defenses suggests a tactical failure and a broader strategic disarray within the Assad regime. Hama is also strategically positioned in central Syria between major cities, and that makes it a critical node for controlling supply lines and also transportation. The province hosts a significant military airbase that's used both by the Syrian Air Force and by the Russian Air Force. The airbase has been critical for launching airstrikes, reconnaissance missions, and also logistical operations. The city and its surroundings, which the rebels are currently taking over, also houses several military barracks and artillery positions. In all, the rebels' advance, both in and around Hama, will seriously weaken the Assad regime's ability to counter the attacks of the rebels, and it will find it harder to defend its remaining strongholds in the rest of the country. Next, the opposition forces will likely advance southward and they will push towards the capital Damascus. But after successfully capturing Aleppo and now Hama, the rebel forces will be up against military, social, and governance challenges as they move south. The rebels will need to cement their gains in Hama, The area will be important to maintain military and strategic leverage. It's likely to be the first target for any attempt by Assad and his forces to reverse the course of this war. The rebels may also face logistical and operational challenges, including the need for greater supplies. Open source intelligence indicates that as the Syrian army withdraws from different military bases, it is leaving enough military ammunition to power the rebels further down south. However, the area captured in Hama may stretch the rebel forces and expose them to counterattacks. As the rebels head south towards Homs, they will be faced with new challenges. Homs is Syria's third largest city, and it serves as a critical transit hub connecting Damascus to the northern and western provinces. It also critically lies just between the middle of the country and the coastal strongholds of Latakia and Tartus, where the Russian military has bases. Entering Homs requires going through large Alawite communities, many of whom strongly support Assad. This poses a challenge for the rebels. A decade of fighting between Assad and rebels within the province of Homs has resulted in further fortifications there. Homs is also home to a significant concentration of Syrian government forces, as well as a large presence of Hezbollah. More importantly, the rebels advancing towards Homs will test Russia's red lines in Syria. So far, Russia has been absent from providing any serious military support to uphold Assad's defenses. While Russia did conduct some airstrikes in Idlib and in Aleppo to try and counter the rebel advances, it has not engaged directly so far in Hama. This restraint reflects Moscow's strategic calculations. It is already stretched in Ukraine, and it wouldn't want to be stretched further in a foreign battlefield. However, Russia appears committed to preserving the Assad regime. That is the primary foothold that Russia has in the Middle East. It has also reportedly promised additional military aid to Damascus. If the rebels now advance towards Homs, Russia will have to decide where it draws the red lines in Syria. Whether it wants to prevent an advance towards Damascus and therefore go defensive, or whether it wants to protect its major naval and air hubs in western Syria. This is a difficult choice for Russia, but one that it has to make in the next few days. The control of Syria's second and fourth largest cities and their advances towards Homs presents Syria's rebels with both challenges and opportunities. Aleppo is one of only two metropolises in Syria which has a population of more than 4 million. Hama is home to more than 1 million Syrians. In contrast with the long-held Idlib, the rebels will have to deal with diverse religious, cultural, and ethnic communities. If the rebels are successful in holding and keeping both Aleppo and Hama, then it bodes well for their ability to get to Damascus and ultimately the whole of Syria. The world watches with bated breath.